Welcome to the Sunday Fun Day podcast. Your hangover never sounds
What's up,
so
everybody?
good. My name's Gil Patterson, and I'm the host of the Sunday Fun Day podcast. Today, I'm here with my young blood, Big Vic.
Big Vic. Victor in the building. How you guys doing today? Sunday Fun
Today,
podcast.
Victor is going to be telling his story about his travels, his destination to journey and success, and transitioning to take on an adventure that most would never see coming. This is the Sunday Fun Day podcast.
Yes,
the
sir.
hangover never sounded so good. Well, what's going on, Big Vic?
Nothing much, man. We're just living.
So I'm glad you're able to join me today. You came back from a whirlwind adventure to Portugal.
Yes, sir.
And you went by yourself.
Solo. 10 weeks.
Solo. And you had literally, you wanted to do a gap year, and you just kind of were like, I remember you telling me one day, you go,
Yep.
I think I'm going to go to Portugal. And my first reaction was, don't go by yourself. This is how people killed.
I'm going to go by myself.
But you went
That's
by
exactly
yourself
what I
anyway.
did, yeah.
So fill us in. Tell us a little bit about it and why you decided to do this. And yeah.
Of course. So I wanted to do a gap year originally. You know, I think it's always good for people to see new things, hear new things, you know, be in a different environment. So that's a good skill set to have for all young people to have, in my opinion. And I wanted to do a gap year, but a whole year being apart from home, and it's a lot of money, time, commitment, everything. And so I thought maybe not a whole year, maybe just a summer.
Yeah.
First time being an adult. Never been an adult before, you know. And I think it's a good idea that before I go into this, to, you know, the real world, I have a solid foot in the game, you know, of understanding of how things work. And so I bought a flight ticket to Portugal and a return flight 10 weeks later. And I sat down on my computer and I booked hostels for each night and train tickets and all that stuff. And then the rest I kind of let unfold. And it was an amazing trip. It was really good.
All right. So you get through this, like the itinerary phase. So you're like, hey, I'm going to make my itinerary. Not actually doing it, folks. I'm just pretending. You click around, you make your itinerary. Then you realize, okay, what am I going to do for 10 weeks? What was your first thought? Like, were you just going to be like, I'm just going to hop around and thumb it through the Portugal?
My idea of going into what I was going to do is to get lost. Just walk around and get lost, and then just stare at buildings, you know. It's kind of, I didn't really know, you know, it's kind of a step into the unknown. Yeah. I didn't really think about like what I was going to do before. I didn't have a clear goal or objective. I just kind of trusted my intuition that I would figure it out along the way. What I did have, though, is for 4 of the weeks, I had a schedule that I would work on a farm, on an organic farm, for 4 of the weeks. And I liked it so much that it turned out to be 6 weeks. Oh. And the farm was also a meditation center. So it was a crazy hippie shit, you know. I was in the middle of it.
Well, you seem to be getting way first. So, okay, so you've decided to go. You've decided, like, hey, I'm going to put out this spreadsheet. I'm going to make it up. You go to the airport. You know, what airline did you even fly on?
What airline?
Yeah, how do you even get to Portugal? Like United?
Delta. Yeah, Delta? So I flew from Portland, then to Munich, then Munich to Portugal. Okay, so it was like 2 flights.
All right, so you leave sometime early summer, June.
Yeah, June 16th.
Okay, so June 16th you leave and you get to Portugal. Tell me about your first day in Portugal.
I will tell you about my first day in Portugal. It was quite the wild one. So I go there. I newly arrived, you know, I'm looking around. I see these crazy buildings. I see different kind of people. That's one thing about Portugal. You would see the diversity of people is just crazy. You know, old, young, black, white. You see all over the spectrum. You know, you see. So I was looking around. It was a very different environment, and I've never been away from home before. So I was scared. I was nervous. I felt like a small fish in a big pond, if you will. You know, I was just like, I was looking around. I was tweaking, you know.
What? Hold on. First off, I thought tweakers were like those meth addicts. You're just like,
that's what I was looking around like, oh my God, like, what is this? What is this? You know, that's what I was like. I was just like, I was like, so, yeah. And so my first night was, I'll remember for the rest of my life, you know. I'm new there and I want to get some breakfast in the morning, you know.
So what time did you get there? Did you get there?
So I got there at like 12 p.m.
Oh, right. So you got there in the afternoon.
Yeah, so I got there in the afternoon and I just slept I just went and crashed.
Okay, so this is like your first day there, you slept.
Yeah. I didn't even, because I was so tired from the flight. So I got in the hostel and I just passed out.
How long was the flight?
18 hours.
Fudge. All right, my bad. All right. So you're 18 hours in, you get off the flight. You get a cab, or Uber.
Yeah, I get an Uber from the airport to the hostel, and the guy checks me in, and I'm, oh my god, the way I'm thinking back of the way I was so frightened. I was such a child, you know.
I'm so scared.
Yeah, exactly like that. And then I just sleep. I wake up in the morning. I'm trying to get some breakfast, right?
Yeah,
and I'm feeling like I'm very shy, right? Because I'm just in this new country. I've never been alone before. And I go up to these 5 Australian guys and I see them and there's this barrier of discomfort, you know, just going up and like cold approaching a ton of group of just random people you don't know is not something, an easy feat, you know, for me at the time. And so I was just like, okay, I just got to do this. So I go up and like, yo, let's get some breakfast. And they look at me and they're like, hell yeah, let's go get some breakfast. Like, hell yeah, mate, let's go. How are they talking?
I don't know.
And then
put a bike on a bikey. That's all I
know. And then we went and got breakfast. And I was in Lisbon at the time. And the thing about Lisbon, the streets are really uphill, downhill, curve, left, right. So we walk 15 minutes to this yogurt place. And I haven't eaten in like 30 hours. So I'm a hungry boy, you know. And what I do is I order from this yogurt place like the everything bowl. And so I get this huge bowl of like nuts, raisins, strawberries. There's like honey. There's straight up brown sugar up in this bowl, right? And it's just I don't even know what it. And I'm like, oh, this is amazing. And so I inhale the whole thing, you know, just like slurp it up, man. And so I'm feeling great, right?
With yogurt.
Yeah.
Is it hot?
No, it's not hot.
Oh, it's not hot.
Yeah, it's like a smoothie bowl. It's outside.
No, I'm talking about like.
Oh, outside. Oh, it's like 90.
Oh, it's hella hot.
It's hella hot.
So you had yogurt in like 90-degree heat.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other guys leave, and I'm like, okay, well, right now it's probably around like 12 p.m. The sun is out.
Noon. Yeah.
And everybody's out. So I'm in the most popular part of Lisbon right now. It's called Pink Street. This is the tourist area. It's a whole street cleanly painted pink for an event, and the locals liked it, so they kept it. So I'm walking, and I'm feeling great, and the sun's out, but then it gets kind of hot, and I'm kind of sweaty a little bit, and then my stomach starts feeling weird because I had this yogurt with all the sugar and stuff, and I'm just like, hey, like what's going on? Like, okay, so I start walking faster back to the hospital. I'm walking, I'm feeling great, and then it's getting really bad, right? Like, I haven't eaten anything in 30 hours. I just like necked this bowl of ice cream. I inhaled this, and I'm like, I'm not having it. And I get to Pink Street. Everyone is there, shoulder to shoulder with people, and I really have to shit myself like very badly.
Wait a second. Stop. So you're on a street with crowded people.
Yes.
And like, what are you wearing? Like a t-shirt and some shorts?
Wearing a t-shirt, some sport shorts, and Birkenstocks with no socks on. The dogs are out, you know.
So you're very baseline, like, don't have shit on me.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you're wearing nothing. You look like you're going for a dip in the pool.
Exactly.
All right.
And I look like I'm going for a dip in the pool. And I really have to shit myself, like very, very badly. And then I put all my soul's energy into clenching myself to not let anything fall out. Because I'm like...
He was clenching those cheeks.
I was clenching. So I was just like trying, like my fists were clenched. I was just like holding onto the side of the rail. And everyone is looking at me. Everyone's just like, what the hell is this guy doing? And then it gets so bad that I can't hold it in, right? And then I vigorously shit myself.
What?
In the middle of Pink Street.
Time out.
And then the shit flies everywhere, all down my leg, all down onto the street, and then everyone just turns their head and looks at me on the middle of the most touristy part of Lisbon.
How many people were there?
Probably, I'd say 60, 70.
Is it a tiny street?
It's a regular sized street, but it's only one block. And there's restaurants all along the block. So all these businesses are out the street looking at me. All these, like, it's crazy, man. And this was my first night.
Oh.
My first night here.
Well, let me be the first one to do this.
Thank you.
You know what that is?
Slow clap.
It's the slow clap. Okay. The slow clap because you took a deuce. It wasn't even a deuce. It was a
mega deuce.
And it was wet.
Slippery.
It was wet.
Stinky. Very wet. And remember how I said I wasn't wearing socks?
Yeah.
And I was wearing Birkenstocks?
Oh, God. It was squishing around your feet.
Ugh.
Do you still wear those Birkenstocks?
Yes. Oh. I clean them. I clean them very well.
But, well, hopefully, I'm going to make you feel better for a second. Okay? I'm going to make you feel better.
Tell me a story.
I had the privilege of doing the same thing to myself once. Well, not necessarily like in my pants, but I have ran over to the, I was in Seattle, and this was only like 36, 37 years old. I was in Seattle, and I had gone to a Mariners game.
Go Ners.
Anyway, go O's. Go Birds. And I was walking downtown, and I'm heading down to the game. And we stopped at 3 or 4 different places. We grabbed something to eat at a crab shack, and I had a crab bowl and
crab,
and it was hot. It was a hot day, hot day,
and some crab.
And I also had so much seafood because I'd been dying for the food, you know, because me being from the East Coast, now living here in the Pacific Northwest, doesn't go great.
Yep.
I go over there and we get done eating, and then my buddy's like, "Hey, let's go grab a drink." And we grab a drink at this whiskey bar, and we start walking again, and we get down to like the business district, and I knew this was going to happen. I knew I should have got an Uber or car or something.
All the suits out.
And there's nowhere to go. It's like 5 o'clock, so everything is closed, like all the like little coffee shops and stuff. And I'm like, I gotta go to bed. I'm looking at my buddy. I'm like, dude, I gotta go. And my buddy's like,
the crab wants to be free, man.
Yeah, free bird. And we get to like some mega building, and I'm like, it says there's a restroom right in this building. And I go and I'm gunning it. I'm like squeezing and walking, you know, that the tight cheek thing.
Oh, the big tight cheek.
Yeah, the big tight cheek. But you're trying to like walk.
Yeah,
with, like,
yeah. And
like,
then it's kind of like.
Yeah. And you're also trying to like make sure like nothing gets in your underwear, nothing slips out because there's a slippage.
Yeah, big slippage.
And I go to the door and it's locked. And I look over and it says closed 4:45 today for the game. Fudge. I look at my buddy and I go, keep walking, guys. And they go, what? I said, keep walking. And I drop and I see a little flower pot, and that flower pot.
In the flower pot.
In the flower pot. And
in the restaurant.
No, it was right. It was outside of the restaurant because the restaurant was closed. Everything was closed, and there was nowhere to go.
Were there like people out?
They were walking by because everyone was going to the game, but I was like right there. And I just go, and I'm like sitting there on this flower pot, I'm like at the edge of the flower pot with like my pants half down, and I'm just going. And my buddies come back.
And do they see it?
Oh, they already knew. I already told them, just keep walking. They come back, and this is how you know your homeboys are your homeboys. They're like, dude, we went to go get you some toilet paper or some napkins.
Some real ones, man.
Right. That's some real ones. But see, I was in my 30s. So you being much younger, don't feel bad. We all have that experience. So oops, I crap my pants, Vic. Yeah, we all make mistakes. But how did that make you feel on that adventure? Like for the first time, like you were like,
one thing I'll always remember how I shit myself in Lisbon, because when you heard the story following up to when I shit, but right after, I actually handled the situation extremely well. I was sitting there, right? There was shit all over, running down my legs, down my knees, in the crevices of my toes. I smell like shit. And then I look up, I'm looking down, I see this scene, and I look up, and there's just like dozens of people just staring at me in the eye, right? And they're just like, what is, like, the street is pink, and I just made it slightly brown street, right? And then so I'm sitting and everyone's looking at me, and I'm thinking, panicking won't help me, blaming the yogurt shop won't help me, doing any sort of like reactional kind of just like tweaking in my heart, just like heart, or just kind of like, any sporadic, any overthinking, that's not going to help me in this situation. So the only thing I could do was just walk back to the hostel, pretend like nothing happened, keep my head up, keep my chest up, and then just go and wipe my own ass, And that's exactly what I did. So I walked back and I looked straight ahead, just everyone was staring at me, full Patrick Bateman style, like everyone. And I just like,
who's Patrick Bateman?
American Psycho.
Oh,
yeah, he's from a movie.
Okay. I don't know.
But my face was just like fully stoic, I just like did not.
But that's because they probably smelled you. They didn't actually know that what you did. They just
they could see it all down my legs.
Oh, you could have been mud jumping.
Yeah, for sure, mud jumping.
Yeah,
there's lots of mud in that area.
So. I don't know. All right,
it was quite the scene.
So did you cry at all?
No. Honest to God, nope. I just went back to the hostel, and that's one thing I always remember, that was such an extreme case of shit hits the fan. Literally, like that was so like, what do you do here? And I like overcame that situation with such in such a well manner. And now like anything else that I see, I just remember like I can wipe my own ass. Like no one else handled that for me except me. Like, and I always think about that, of how I efficiently, overcame my poo-poo on my leg,
Well, I'm constantly in awe of your, because I told you, like I see you as a young thought leader, like a revolutionary. You're like, I'm gonna do something different. And so I think in order to do something different, you have to respond to things differently. And if that means knowing that you literally took a shit on yourself and you kept pushing, you just kept moving. You started your vacation, not much of a vacation, really. It's like you started this journey literally with the idea of like, did you call your brother, your father?
No, I didn't actually tell them until 10 weeks later when I was back home at the dinner table.
Oh,
I didn't even tell them until like in person.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that takes some. Yeah. That's something fresh. That's something special. Because I would have been like, dear mother.
It's such a good story that I want to save it for when I could fully give my, with my voice. Over text, it's like kind of.
I still would have been, dear mother. There was an accident today, and for the first time. Okay, so you go back to the hostel and you clean up.
Yes.
Did you throw those shorts away? Did you wash them?
I put my shit-covered underwear and shorts in the urinal, and I left them there.
Did you leave that night?
Yeah. And so I left that night, and as my gift to the people that kindly hosted me, I left my shit-stinking underwear and shorts in the urinal, so someone else could go get that up. Because there's no bathroom, there's no trash can in the bathroom, and I wasn't about to like carry it like in the hallway out, and then so
you jumped in the shower though while you were in the bathroom, and you just cleaned up.
Yeah, the shower drain never smelled so good.
Like the hangover never sounded so good. So you drained the shorts, left them in the urinal. Somebody probably peed on them.
Yep.
Luckily for you, you were out of there. Did you go to another hostel that night?
So right after that night, that was my...
Or that day.
That day,
That's like
I left
2:30.
and then went to town or a city west of Portugal, western Portugal. It's called Albufeira.
Okay.
That is a beach town west of Portugal. So I went all the way down. I took the train 3 hours down and stayed at a beach town for 3 nights.
So,
and in this town, there were big city. There were crazy super clubs everywhere.
okay, so you leave the little town. What was the town or the city called?
Lisbon.
You left Lisbon
Yeah.
to go down to the shore.
Yeah.
Albufeira.
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 And let's be you don't speak Portuguese either.
No.
So
Zilch.
this is
Zero.
like legit. Like you are like there.
Yeah, just kind of like,
Please help me.
Yeah.
Please speak English. Please speak English.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So you go to Albufeira,
Yep.
and while you're there, you go into this is a new hostel, new night, new
Yep.
day.
Knew everything.
So you got there probably around like 6 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you got 6 p.m. You're there. Now what?
So I'm there
Huge club town. So I know what's
huge
coming
clubs,
up next.
and then one thing. So 3 days, go by, and basically I spend my days at the beach. I walk around the beaches. I brought a speaker with me, and there are beautiful sunsets. So I just go. I didn't have any friends, so I just clip my speaker to my satchel, and I'd go on walking, and I'd just walk on the cliff shore, and then watch the sunset and play music, and then just sit there and look, and then just like breathe, and just stare at the sunset.
What were you thinking in this time?
So, what was I thinking in this time?
Was it like meditation, or was this just like?
So, like I said, there were super clubs there.
Mhm.
I was analyzing these super clubs. Now, hear me out. When you think about a club or a bar or a super club, whatever, it sounds fun, right? And it sounds like ever since growing up, you're like, okay, drinking, people, social, girls, like everything. Like this is a fun place to be, right? And that's what I thought before going in, right? And I go in sober and alone to these massive 3-story like buildings, and then the balconies are all covered and just like flooded out with people. And there's people flooding into the streets, and I'm in there and looking around, and it's blasting music, and then there's drinks everywhere, tons of people bumping in, dancing, and I'm looking around and I'm like, this sucks. Like, this is horrible. I would not wish this upon my worst enemy. Like, that was probably one of the worst times in this trip. Like it was just not fun at all. I wasn't learning anything new. I wasn't talking to anyone, and all I heard was, it was just so numbing. And then that's what I was thinking about when I was looking out at the sunset, on the beach in nature. I was like, this is way better than last night. Like, this is much better. And that's something that I realized about, me personally. I prefer to be in like a beautiful, vast landscape where I could see really far and all these things and kind of just chill out. And I think that's way better for me personally than being in the clubs and bars. But also, I didn't go with any friends. I went by myself. And I'm sure if I went with my friends, it would have been much better. But that's one thing I was just thinking about, like, why would anyone do that? Like that, to me, in my mind, sounds so bad. And I feel like...
So you avoided, like... So did you actually go to the club?
Yeah, I went twice. The second time was actually fun because I made some friends at the hostel, and I went, and that was fun. But the first night that I went, it was so bad. It was awful.
Why? What made it so bad? Was it just a terrifying experience? It was like everybody's there?
I don't know. I was just like...
Or was it just...
It was the fact that society, or I don't know, constantly you just hear people saying, yeah, like this is supposed to, like, I was sitting there and I was like, why am I not having fun? Like, this is supposed to be fun. Like, is something wrong with me? Like, why isn't this a fun experience? Like, I'm having a horrible time. Like, what is wrong? Like, there's music, there's drinks, there's people, like, it sounds like paradise, or this seems really fun. But I was just because I was just sitting there and just looking around, and I was just like alone. And I was just like, this is like, why am I not having fun? And that's what made it bad, is because it was supposed to be fun, according to, what I've heard my whole life. And then
according to Wikipedia,
yeah,
clubs are all the rage. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no.
And I went there, and it was not fun at all.
Well, I'll tell you what. When I was younger, when I went to Europe, I actually didn't like clubs either, because what I did was I had such anxiety that when I walked in for the first time, I remember there was a club in London, because I had been in Ireland and Scotland, but I got to London and I went to this club called Heaven or Hell. Shh, don't tell anybody, guys. I went there. I went to this club called Heaven or Hell, and I didn't know anyone in the club. No, I was like 19. And obviously, you can have a couple drinks, and I started just pounding them. And by time I went to the bathroom, and I was trying to use the bathroom really bad. And, in London, they have those big stalls, like the stalls that go all the way up to the bottom of the floor, and they lock.
Yeah.
And there's only like 2 in this club, which sucked. But there's only 2, and I really had to go. And I'm waiting, and one's like says girls or ladies, and the other one says gents. And I finally realized, I was like, hold on, somebody's been in this other stall, the one that says gents, for like 15 minutes. So I'm banging on it, boom, 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 get out. Well, then I realized, it's got this little thing, and all you need is a quarter. It's like literally shaped like you put a quarter in and you can turn it and it unlocks it. And I finally put the quarter in, I unlock the door, and I pull it open, and there's a guy passed out. So what it was is this guy took too many drugs or something, and he had passed out in there. And so I kind of like saved his life, and I pulled him out, and I carry him out, and I wave over the bouncer. Well, it turns out his friends were like worried about him. They hadn't seen him, and his friends see me, and this guy's name was Christian. You ever heard of the wah-wah pedal for the guitar that they hit where it makes the noise?
Oh, yeah.
Peter Frampton, those guys use it. Well, it turns out this guy, Christian, his father invented the wah-wah pedal. And he invites me to come hang out with them over in their box. Yeah. Little suite. And later on that evening, they invite me over to their house. But, if it wouldn't been for this random guy like almost dying in the bathroom and me helping save his life, I probably would have went home and be like, I never want to go to the clubs again.
Yeah.
Because that moment you realize clubs are only fun because you've gone there with people that you enjoy, and then you meet other people who are there to enjoy the scenery.
Yeah.
But if you go by yourself, like you said the first time, you were like, oh, this sucks. And I'm pretty sure there were a lot of people that are just messed up, like bad that night, weren't they?
You could see it in the eyes, it felt like their soul had left. Like I would go up to people and I'd like look at them and try and have a conversation, and then they're just like, they're pale. They look like walking zombies, they're just like, it's like, and also just like the lust. You could smell it in the air. Just like all these dudes were just like skin tight, just like horny ass, like, and the way they would, the shit I've seen of like how gross not only guys but girls are too, like the way they act in the clubs. I'm just like, goddamn, like you're
out. Like I can't do this.
It was so bad.
But luckily the second time you had a couple people that you were with.
And it was actually pretty fun, and I was dancing and I was just acting like a fool. And,
it's good that you're able to experience that too, by the way, because because it's funny, because I remember you like posting all these photos and stuff, and I was like, oh, that's cool. But then in my head I go, but that's only a snapshot. Yeah. It's a moment in time. You don't know how the rest of the night went. You don't know how somebody was feeling that night. So
exactly, it's all like smoke and mirrors. Because I would post them on my story, right? Just like a little video of there's tons of people dancing, lights, and then tons of people would swipe up like, that looks so fun, and I kind of looked at it and thought like, well, this was probably one of the worst nights of my whole, like, this sucked. And then I think about, that's like, I experienced that. What about all these celebrities that you see are all just like on social media with the millions of people, the cars and yachts and everything, and you're like, well, it could just be a little bit, but what if that same day they had to go to their mother's funeral or something? Like, you wouldn't even know what, like, that's a couple seconds, and you're thinking like, okay, this person's whole life is automatically so good. But then if you think about it, like, just an hour later, they could be having like, I don't know, whatever.
The worst day of their lives.
Yeah, exactly. So you can never you can't look at social media and think like, wow, this person, or like think in your head that what you see is the reality, because it almost never is.
Well, I definitely know that the reality is that you went to the club, you got out, you had a good time the second time, the first night, and then you were up on these cliffs in Bonavara.
Albufeira.
Albufeira. I don't even know how to say it. Albufeira. You go to Albufeira, you have a great time, you meet some wonderful people, you finally get to hang out, you have a night of like debauchery where you're like, I don't want to do this again. And then what happens the next night?
So then I'm a third night in Albufeira, and then I go with some other guys I met in the hostel. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, flies by, and I walk around, and I have a very nice long walk along the beach, and I just take my sandals off, and I just have my toes, half in the water, half in the sand. I'm walking around, and it's really, 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 really nice. I went to an Albufeira. I think it's the second nicest, or not an Albufeira, but on the west coast of Portugal. The west coast of Portugal, the whole range is called the Algarve. And in the Algarve, I think there's either the first or the second nicest beach globally, like in the whole world. And so I got to see that and experience that, and that was really nice. So my third night, I walked around. And then after that, it was nothing crazy, nothing wild happened. I took an Uber to a farm 30 minutes out on the west coast. It was in the middle of nowhere.
Is this the farm you'll eventually stay at and work on? Well, let's hold off on that and come back for the part 2 of the Sunday Funday podcast with Big V.
Big V.
This is the Sunday Funday podcast. Your hangover never sounded so good. In part 2 of this, when we come back, Victor will tell us about his experience on the farm.
Yeah.
And then we'll also discuss why he chose Portugal in the first place. This is the Sunday Funday podcast. The hangover never sounded so good.